State of Decay 2 is out on May the 22nd on PC and Xbox One. It's an open world zombie survival and community/settlement building game. Would you agree, Jake Kulkowski and Gareth Evans, who are sitting here with me, Mike Williams?
Yeah, why not, Mike?
Yeah. Seems about right. Good, best way to sum it up. Because I think the community building and settlement building in the first game, the original State of Decay, which was kind of an Xbox Live arcade game, came on PC as well. That was a big part of it for me anyway. That was the main draw of the game, if anything, just managing a community from an actual in-game world rather than it being some kind of strategy game or something. You're just in the game and you're having to manage all these things. So it's essentially the game about what do you do if there is a zombie apocalypse, and that's the premise. You know, that's what they sell it as. Very open, very sandbox-like gameplay. Don't expect a huge narrative thread here. That's I guess how it's going to differ mainly from something like Days Gone, right, which is coming out next year. What do we know about the game at this point? Quite a bit, actually. Like the first kind of previews and stuff have really been rolling out the last week or so. What do you reckon of what you've seen so far, guys, just in terms of the gameplay details and stuff like that? Any obvious changes if you played the first one?
Well, the thing that strikes me first off, it looks so similar to the first
very
one.
Much so.
It's just an upgrade in very many ways. It doesn't look like there's anything noticeably new here, and from what I've seen, there's a considerable amount of jank there too, but it does, I mean, for fans of the first game, it looks like a nailed-on home run for them. I'm not sure if there's anything more than that, but
I got to agree with you. Overall, it looks like a kind of sequel that makes the original redundant because you've got a better version of that game now. It's not the kind of sequel that you need to play the first one, I would say. It looks like you can just come in right at this one and it'll be a better game. It'll be more polished, there's better animations and stuff. They've built on top of it with new systems and expanded it in various ways, which we will get into. So like the first game, it's an open world, third-person combat, melee-focused combat game, but there are firearms in it. Go out, you get resources, you find survivors, build up your shelter and the community within that shelter. You play as a group of people as well, rather than as one individual. So there's permadeath. So you lose a character when you're out in the field. That character's gone. You rotate to someone else in the group, and they are sad because their friend has just died. And there's that kind of sense to it. Strong sense of RPG and leveling up and progression and all that. This time around, though, probably the biggest addition, there's co-op. Does that serve as an extra selling point to you, Jake?
Should do, yeah. And it does. I think that the game, because I didn't play the first one, right? Let's just get this out of the way. Didn't play the first one, and I know it probably sounds very ignorant and stupid, but hey, maybe someone else has seen the same things I've seen. From what I've seen of State of Decay 2, it's got a lot in common with the game This War of Mine. Do you know what I mean? With the looking after a team of people, sending them out scavenging. There's a depression meter, there's a hunger meter, there's a whole grim thing. When one of them gets depressed, when the other one dies, you have to send someone else out. That's what it reminded me of.
Mechanically
definitely. Like that, but with a co-op feature and this like action element.
And also it's not as grim. It's not as it's a lot more like I don't know, a lighter vibe to this, despite the setting, and it's a bit sillier.
Like these giant exploding huge fat zombies with red eyes and stuff like that. It does look really interesting, and remember that this isn't full price, and in fact if you've got like the Xbox Game Pass Play Anywhere thing, you can play it, and I think it looks like a perfect addition to that for sure.
And I think it serves, you can see that it's not a full price AAA experience, but then the first one wasn't. It was an Xbox Live Arcade game. They actually had a 2 gigabyte file size limit on that because it was a live game, and that, obviously they've overcome that now, and that is part of what you'd expect to see here. So it's one of them projects where they go, oh, this is what we wanted to do all along type of thing, because the restraints are off them in many ways this time around, which is pretty promising if you're a fan of the first one. But what's the actual gameplay like? Well, I've got to tell you, one of the more eye-catching things I spotted when kind of researching this was in an interview that Undead Labs design director Richard Fogg did with UK Telegraph a couple of weeks ago. Here's what he said. There's systems that make an area safe for a little while, but if you haven't been back there, you're not keeping it up or maintaining it. The zombie population will eventually fill it back in and take over. Sounds okay, all right. So the Telegraph interviewer says, almost sounds like gardening. And then Richard Fogg replies, yes, it's a constant struggle.
With zombies being the weeds.
The zombies are the weeds. So it's, and you know, given the success of the likes of Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, sounds like they're onto a winner. Gardening is in, man. So it's that maintenance feel. There actually literally is gardening in it as well, if you're into that.
Plants vs. Zombies spin-off this.
Exactly. So let's talk about that a little bit. The base building and stuff is the main, I guess, the main vein of progression through it. So you're going out, you're scavenging, getting supplies, meeting survivors. What's the point? Well, the point is to build this community and build this base that you've got, and you can actually manage that with kind of a map view. It's all done in third person, but there are various ways that you manage it. You actually can put rooms, like you need to provide bedrooms, you need medical facilities, you need a kitchen space for someone to cook food for these people. Right. There's actually, and some of them are properly functional, like workshops to upgrade things. But then you've got more things that are more about building morale, like a lounge, which you can turn into like a cocktail lounge, or you can hold events there to make everyone happy, because there's a zombie apocalypse.
At the end of the world, eh?
I heard you that you could make a Xbox console to keep people happy.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. No PlayStation 1 in there, I imagine.
But if it's an apocalypse, you take what you can get.
So there you go. You can get an Xbox in there. So that's a big part of the game, and it was, like I said, one of the big draws for me was building this thing up, and that's a really good route through it, and it gives you this real RPG vibe that you're building stuff up. There's also progression in terms of your own kind of character and the characters. The weapons wise, you can customize your kind of firearms and stuff. So there's a lot of openness, a lot of things to do, a lot of options to adjust, a lot of things to build up, and that is what the game is. Like I said, it's not so much about that one narrative thread throughout, although there are story elements in there for sure.
Which is great, because you need stuff to do in a game, and this is what in contrast to Sea of Thieves that came out recently. There's just not enough to do, anything to do in that game, if you ask me. Whereas this seems like it's fuller in the sense that you will not find a problem, filling your time essentially.
There's no shortage of motivation in this. At least, it's kind of like a lot of the gameplay is like, well, all right, I need to go out and scavenge some medical supplies because this person is ill. They've got the infected or whatever. So that's what your motivation is. It's not a quest marker going, oh, go over here because there's going to be a cutscene. It's different. And I'm not saying that's not in it, but your actual motivation.
Your objectives are going to change, like as the needs change, which will be quite like an organic thing rather than, you might be in a place that's like, resource rich or something like that, or you might stumble upon like a place full of medical supplies, so that might not even ever be an issue for you, for the foreseeable future. But I like the idea of that. Like, I'm going to make it my mission when I play this to go around and just kill all the other survivors, I think, and get all their shit. And the fact that you can do that is
not
great.
Recruit them, because you could recruit them. Right?
No. There'd just be more mouths to feed. I'm going to get a team of 5 or 6 and then just kill everybody else. That's what I think.
You're going to be very elitist in your...
I'd prefer the term selective, to be honest, but I'll go with
selective schools.
Well, that's the beauty of it. You approach it the way that you want to, right?
Yeah,
if that's an option,
yeah.
then that's great.
And so this is obviously, when you see the interviews and stuff and you see the live streams they've been doing and stuff, they always talk about that kind of thing. Like, that was the inspiration for the first game. What's your zombie survival story? And you get these characters, and there are kind of set characters that you'll get. You'll start with this same character every time in the original State of Decay. But he could die, like, in the first time you run out. And it did for a lot of people, and they lose that character. But that character's got a bit of an arc, and that arc will change massively depending on... So they've doubled down on that side of it for sure. Let's talk about co-op a little bit more, because there's no actual PvP. It's about working together to build, to defend, to help each other out and stuff. There's no friendly fire. I'm sure a griefer will find a way to grief you, but it's not built with that in mind at all. And the way it works is pretty flexible. I mean, your game by default is open to your friends, so your friend could just jump into your single player game at will, but you can set it to be private. You can also send out a flare if you're in trouble. So if you're out in the open world on your own playing a single player and you're like, shit, I can't get out of this, you can fire a flare that's literal in the sense that it goes out to the public.
Like Monster Hunter World.
Exactly. Yeah. People join in, help you out.
That's cool.
I think the way that they've built it is probably going to be the main draw for me. The idea of playing this co-op is good. Really highly demanded, it must be said, for the first game. That's what the fans kind of wanted. Sure. It's built on Unreal Engine 4. That increases the number of things they can do. Again, like the 2 gigabyte size limit and stuff. They're just building on top of this game and expanding it and polishing it in ways that they just couldn't with the first one. There's also nighttime gameplay, which looks pretty terrifying. Does that thing where everything's scarier and buffer, and and the nighttime is pretty dark. Like, it's close to your field of vision is actually properly limited, right, in the nighttime, and there's a day-night cycle.
So that makes it enemy. What are the enemies? Is there specials like Left 4 Dead and all that?
There's a huge range of special zombies, and there's also 2 tiers of zombie. They've added a whole other tier of like infection, which is called
blood plague or something.
Plague.
Yeah.
And that can infect your survivors. So there is a way to cure it. You've got to go into the middle of these infested like horde buildings that have got a blood heart inside it. You've got to retrieve that kind of key ingredient to kind of to cure the plague kind of thing. So they've added that whole other tier on top of it, and you can tell the difference because normal zombies have got yellow eyes, the blood plague ones have got red eyes. Right?
Okay.
So they've
scary shit.
Yeah, they said the idea was to make it not terrifying, but to stress you, to make you think shit, but not be terrified. And that is definitely the sense I got from the first game.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. I mean, there is that feeling that you'll manage, you'll get by. However, if you make a wrong decision, or if you get unlucky, you've got to be aware. You've got to keep your wits about you, because it could change. Even though it feels comfortable, you can run around, you can bash them over the head with the stick and get out of it really easily. If you don't watch what you're doing, like you might run out of stamina, you might get surrounded, and then you're just dead.
Yeah, exactly. And the designers actually have said that almost every character you play is going to die eventually. So the idea is to how long can you kind of last, and there is a story thread going through it. Unlike the first game, probably the biggest change and addition alongside co-op is the fact that there will actually be 3 separate maps this time, each one of them as big as the entire first game.
Nice. Tripled the area. I'm guessing there's different type of terrain in each.
There must be different kind of biomes.
Yeah. To vary up a little bit, so give you that replayability. I think you can jump between maps at will as well.
Right. They are separate areas, and they did that on purpose, they said, because it doesn't give you the same sense of deja vu driving around the same location. Yeah. They're literally separate, so you get a separate experience, and they feel like different towns and areas. They said that's in terms of how different they are as biomes, that's what they've pitched it as. It feels like a different town and a different set of villages or whatever.
Right.
So I mean, overall, I'm kind of pretty positive about it. I am looking forward to it. The reviews drop on the May the 17th, I think, which is the Thursday. So they should be out by the time this video goes out. And that is a few days in advance of release, which is always good to see.
Just a weekend ahead, yeah.
And overall, I think it looks like what you'd want as a returning player. If you're a fan of State of Decay, but if you're not, then I don't know. Is it enough to win you over? What about you, Jake? Seeing as you didn't,
just like I said it a little bit earlier, but I think it's definitely worth saying again. Yeah, the fact that this isn't a full price game and it looks very feature complete for what it is. Like Sea of Thieves had, a kind of unimpressive amount of content for many people. Yeah. This game doesn't look like price. You can accuse them of the same thing. And if you're on this sort of couple of quid a month Game Pass thing, this looks like a fantastic addition. Yeah. I feel like I had no skin in the game when it came to State of Decay 2. I wasn't into the first one, how it looked, so I didn't get it when it came out. This one I wasn't really bothered with. Now that because there's hours of gameplay online at this point already, the more I look at it, the more it seems to be gelling with me. I quite like the kind of cartoony art style, and like these little hooks are pulling in. The fact that I know that I can go around killing the other players is good to me. And so I'm looking forward to it, and I'll tell you what, I will definitely be giving it a spin, at least for the first week.
Yeah, and the game, I mean, it's a worthy comparison with Sea of Thieves, of course, because it's a Microsoft exclusive, it's on the same Game Pass service, it's similar proposition, co-op gameplay and stuff, but the price is completely different in this one if you're going to buy it, and it's, largely a similar thing. Do you want to play with your friends for like, 4 of you, or 3 of your mates in a squad of 4 to kind of, in a sandbox type environment where anything can happen. It's very similar in that kind of comparison. And you're right about it being feature complete, because if you think, can you drive vehicles? Yes, you can. Can you open the door in the vehicle to hit the zombies? Yes, you can. What if the vehicle gets damaged? Can you repair it? Yes, you can. Can you sneak around and avoid the zombies? Yes, you can. Do the zombies hear? Have they got a sense of hearing? Is there sound elements? Yes, there is. Yeah. It's all of that logic type stuff is applied to it pretty well. What about you guys as a kind of returning State of Decay?
Yeah, I mean, I played the original and I liked it to an extent. There were obviously, it had its problems. I mean, I enjoyed it. The sequel looks appealing to me. I like the colony management thing, and I like the interpersonal relationships you get between the characters. And
that's huge, I think.
Yeah, and the attributes that you've got on each character. Each character is different, and every time you recruit somebody, you might, it might find that it's got a different skill, and you can help you out with your colony or whatever. There are a couple of question marks over this that kind of soured me when I saw a stream of it yesterday. One was the tethering that happens in the multiplayer. You can't go off and do your own thing in somebody else's game. You're tethered tethered to the host of
You got a bungee cord.
Yeah,
on the waist.
if you go too far away, then you get drawn back, which stops you from being able to go and do two separate things. If someone needs to go and scavenge, another one wants to defend the outpost or whatever, you can't do that. And the other thing was that when you are scavenging as a pair or a group or whatever, each person has a colour attributed to them, and each stash in any building, whatever, can only be opened by the person of the same colour. So each stash will have a different colour. So you are limited to what you can scavenge based on an arbitrary colour.
Orange player, orange loot.
Exactly. It seems very ridiculous to me. And you're talking about the logic behind, can you open doors and smash zombies? Yeah. Can you fix a car? Yeah. Can you open the stashes that aren't your colour? No. Why? It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's interesting as well, given that it's just the host player's world and the other players just jump in to help. They get rewards, of course, for doing multiplayer. There's motivation for them. But it's essentially the host's game that you'll be helping out. So yeah, as a design decision, I'm interested to find out what their kind of reasoning was for doing that. But there it is. That's State of Decay 2. It's out on May the 22nd. PC and Xbox One. Costs about 20 quid, £22, I think like that, something like that, and about the equivalent in dollars. And it's on Xbox Game Pass, which is you can get a free trial of, and you can get it $3.99 a month is the kind of lower shorter term rate that you can get on it. Is, for that is worth checking out, I guess. So there you go, State of Decay 2. Thank you everyone for watching the video. Let us know what you think about this game so far based on what you've seen down in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. There should be another video on your screens right now which you could watch if you want, and a link to Patreon if you do want to support the channel. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.
Last truck.